Hi everyone, how are you all doing? My name is Natalie. If this is the first time that you're watching my videos, thank you so much for being here. I hope that if you enjoy what I do and share here on this channel, you can consider subscribe and share with your friends. In this video, we are talking about this upcoming week astrology forecast. I'm a little bit late. My week have just been really busy and there was a little accident, so it really delayed my work, but here we are. And thankfully this week, which we'll be talking about, is not fully packed with astrological energy and aspect. So there's actually a little bit of a breather, a sense of relief. We do have a couple aspects that we need to talk about. Anyway, so let's dive in. We are talking about September 29 to October the 5th of 2025. Wow. We are definitely stepping into fall. I'm in Northern Hemisphere and the last quarter of the year. How are you all doing, feeling? We have just had our second eclipse, which is a partial solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. It happened last week, so this week the energy is slowly fading, but definitely I always say the eclipse season might bring up something, might illuminate your focus to a certain area of your life, depending what you're moving through, where are these eclipses taking place in your natal chart, what themes and topic areas of life are they about. The energy doesn't just like snip and go away. It will fade, right? But then sometimes whatever happened during eclipse season, they will still continue to unfold, develop until 6 months later when we have another set of eclipse. So whatever is coming up or whatever had happened during the majority of the whole September month, which is our eclipse season, perhaps most of them came up already. You already know what is happening. It's all here in front of you and you're just navigating through, or it will also continue to unfold and develop for you in the next, let's say, couple weeks or even couple months. So just know that and give yourself and people around you a little bit more grace, because we're all just navigating through these energies together. And boy, oh boy, this is probably one of the loudest and one of the biggest eclipse season I have experienced on a collective level. The news is just like what is happening on a collective level is just one after one after one with all these aspects. So with this week, with not too many aspects happening, I want to also take a minute to just kind of share what I have recorded. Of course, I might have missed out some of them. It's mainly just the biggest pieces that I see when I'm trying to like keep myself up to date with what is happening on a collective level. September 1st was when Saturn retrograde back into Pisces, and the day after, on September 2nd, we saw the news of the Italian dock workers threaten to shut down the port, Europe, from sending more weapons to it's not real if the sumo flotilla are being threatened. As many of you know, the sumo flotilla, the global sumo flotilla, is consisting of, I think as of now, about 44 ships, various in size, not very big. Some of them are like yachts, boats, and some of them are ships, and they contain hundreds of people from 44 different countries. They are civilians, volunteers, just like you and me, but they are carrying many of our voices and hope, because we just simply cannot stand what is happening in Gaza, and seeing how every single government failed and doing nothing. The civilian gathered together to form this global sumo flotilla, unarmed and just bringing needed humanitarian aid, medicine, food to the people in Gaza. And they are sailing from Barcelona, and I think at this point they are very close. As of today, September 29, when I'm recording, I think they are like 300, is that how you say, like the nocturnal miles? I don't know if that's different from just miles, but yeah, they're like 300 something miles away from Gaza, and they are entering the danger zone, which they were intercepted last time, just like 3 months ago during June, when the Magdalene flotilla was intercepted in the international waters. So the next 2-3 days are very, very, very crucial and important. If you are watching this, if you I believe if you're watching this, you and I share the same value and beliefs that you know, keep sending positive energies, prayers, protection, to pray for their safe travels and hope that they can safely land Gaza and just open up this humanitarian aid corridor. So, okay, let's go back, because this is quite interesting. So on September 2nd, right after Saturn retrograde back into Pisces, the Italian debt workers threatened to shut down Europe, right? And guess what? Later, during the second eclipse on September 22nd, the Virgo partial solar eclipse, it's the sun and moon at 29 degrees, which is the same degree that Saturn was in earlier this month on the 2nd, right? So Saturn was in Pisces, 29 degrees during September 2nd, and on the 22nd, when we have that Virgo eclipse, the sun and the moon were at 29 degrees of Virgo, opposite and hitting back that Saturn in Pisces at 29 degrees, which we had earlier. And that echo each other and bring up something into fruition, right? The sun, the moon illuminate what was being said in September 2nd, which on 22nd, the Italy literally really shut down. They closed off all, I think, the highway, the railway system, the road, the ports, and I just like have to give it to the people there, the collective, how powerful we can be if we decide to take action together. So yeah, that was so powerful. So I just wanted to relate back to that, how powerful is astrology and how powerful is the collective as well. Later on September 3rd to 4th, we have Mercury in Virgo square Uranus in Gemini. We also have that potent Mars Jupiter square between Libra and Cancer, which I mentioned that was a potential danger, volatile, sudden crazy news that couple of days. When we have these aspects, the victims from the Epstein files announced that they will make their own list if the government does not release it. And this is definitely, you know, people taking action to their own hands. You know, Mercury square Uranus, a sudden news that we didn't expect, but it is coming out, right? And on the 6th, we have Uranus stationing retrograde at 1 degree in Gemini. And on that day, 400 Korean workers from Hyundai was arrested by ICE in Georgia. They were not illegal. They actually were all on working visa to go to the US, to go to Georgia to help set up the new Hyundai plant, the location over there. And they were there not to try to stay and like live in the US. They were there on working visa, and they were there to train new workers. And that new location was supposed to create 8,000 jobs for Americans. They were just there helping to set things up and helping to train the new workers, because Hyundai is a Korean company and many of the instruction or whatsoever, the teaching or whatever is in Korean, so they have to train them. And guess what? they got arrested, and there were report news floating out that they were mistreated. You know, they also voice out and say how badly they were treated, and there's rumors that the South Korean government might seek human rights violation as well, but it's still at this point an ongoing story. We don't know what's really happening yet, but I believe there might still be some development. We will have to see. But yeah, that was what happened. And guess what? The next day we had that total lunar eclipse in Pisces. So that was what the eclipse energy about. Eclipse energy linger a week, actually I would say 2 weeks before and after the actual eclipse. So that energy is already there, right? That illumination of the eclipse. So on the day of the eclipse on September 7th, we also have Nepal, a group of Gen Z that led a peaceful protest against its corrupt government and forced the prime minister to resign. I forgot if it's on the same day or a couple more days, but they then did a very Uranus and Gemini thing. They elected the new prime minister through Discord. Like, hello, how? But this is how we might see more of those unusual, new revolutionary way of communicating, doing all this mercurial thing when Uranus is in Gemini, right? I already mentioned that during my Uranus in Gemini video, which you can go back and I posted around July. If you're interested to check, it was a deep dive into what Uranus in Gemini might be for us individually and on a collective level. So yeah, that was very interesting. And then on September the 9th, it's not real, bomb Carter. I'm like, hello, what? That's like insane, because Carter was the mediator, right? For it's not real and HMAS, right? So I'm like, what? I think everyone was just like puzzled. And as of that day, it marks the 5th country that is not real has bomb. Like who does that? And yet nothing is done yet towards it's not real. Okay. Anyway, I just feel that this is just so insane, right? This is carry on with that lunar eclipse energy with heavy Saturn impact, right? And the next day on September 10th, when we have the Sun, the Mercury conjuncting the South Node, which is a point of letting go, release, lost. We do have, I don't want to say his name, but C. Kurt, right? The right-wing Christian influencer, a politician influencer, was murdered. And wow. I should have prepared his chart and show it up here, but the aspect up in the sky compared to his own natal chart was just like I'm not trying to say that, oh wow, you know, it's a good thing, but the way the astrology hit his chart is just like, wow, that's a big possible energy of him unaliving, and it actually happened. So I'm just like, whoa, you know. Sometimes I'm not saying that astrology is always like that, like about death, but it can signify, because he is in a 8th house perfection year. So 8th house, one of the theme can be related to death. And he also, during that day, the notes that I made is the moon also entered Taurus on that day, and Taurus rules the throat, and that's where he got shot at. And having the Sun, which is our life force energy, right, conjuncting South Node, is like losing our soul energy sort of thing, right? So it's just very crazy how things, astrology just kind of match up, you know. It's that literal sometimes. And he said a lot of crazy things, you know? And so one thing I thought it was just ironic is he supports, you know, gun, and he said that it is necessary, right? But that's ironically, that's how he got killed as well. So I'm just like, wow, you gotta be careful with what you say sometimes, you know? And another thing is that his death also sparks this big controversy and conversation around empathy. Like, does he deserve it? I mean, it's such a sad thing for the wife, the children that's losing their partner and dad. Yes, but he's also a person that, does he really deserve empathy? I don't know, right? So that sparks it. And guess what? Empathy, the word empathy to him is a woke term that is only the new age people use it. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess he doesn't deserve it, you know? But that's just my own opinion, my little tangent, okay? But yeah. And the funny thing is, well, not funny, I guess. I seriously think people use astrology, you know, especially the government and things, because his funeral was on the day when we have that Virgo partial solar eclipse. And I don't know, from the news, from the pictures I saw, it's just, the whole thing is just very like cult-like. But again, just my own opinion. And then on 15th, we have a very sad news about Trey Reed in Mississippi that passed away. They said it's a suicide. We don't know. Well, they didn't even perform an autopsy, but then later on, an individual private autopsy was funded and performed. I think they might still conclude as a suicide, but I think the autopsy say otherwise, right? I'm not too sure. I'm not following up to date with that, but you know, if you know, feel free to comment below and share it. Couple days later, on the 17th, we have Mercury in Virgo oppose Saturn retrograde Pisces at 28 degrees. And that was the day when Jimmy Kimmel's show got canceled. It was so sudden and so big. I'm just like, what? And again, astrology, just don't lie. Jimmy Kimmel's natal chart, his own natal Uranus is at 28 degrees in Virgo, the same degree when we have that Mercury opposed Saturn, okay, on his Uranus. So that is a sudden death, sudden ending, because Saturn also refers to ending, no more, right? And he's a what? He's a show, talking show, Mercury, right? So his show literally just experienced a sudden death, right? So that was just so shocking. And of course, he's not the first. I think he's the second now, but it is announced that he's back. He's already back as of now. I think he was back like September 22nd, 3rd. I forgot. A few days ago. It's September 29 right now when I'm recording. But yeah, that was crazy again. And of course, on the 22nd or 21st, depending where you are, we had that Virgo solar eclipse. That was the day when C. Kirk has his funeral. And also on the 22nd, around this, exactly on this eclipse, where we have that very, very tight and tense opposition between the eclipse, the sun and the moon, and Saturn. We have the Philippines having a big protest. They flood the streets to protest against their corrupted government as well, because the Philippines experience a lot of climate disasters and the government is just very corrupted. The money that we're supposed to use to rebuild, to help the people, were not being used wisely, right? And then the next couple of days, last week I did mention, is a very volatile energy aspect that I want everybody to pay attention to, that Mars in Scorpio squaring Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. I mentioned that collective, we might hear some crazy news, devastating news related to violence, attack, weapons, so on and so forth, right? It's Mars, right? And Pluto is like, right? And then I also say that individually can be, you really need to be mindful when you are in the kitchen, when you're handling fire, sharp objects, hot stuff, and just be aware of surroundings, right? It's very accident prone. It can also be volatile and violence, right? Whether this is physically or emotionally or, verbally between you and other people. So the whole last weekend that we just had, I remind you all to be careful. I hope you did. Well, guess what? I tried my best, and I don't know if you can see from my face, I did have an accident. I do wear many hats, and one of the hats is being a chef in the kitchen, and the hot soup splashed on my face unexpectedly. I did not foresee that coming. And yeah, the square, very volatile, hitting a little bit, not like exact, but pretty close to some of my planets. So I try my best to be careful, but still I got hit. So I'm just praying and hoping that there's no scar. But I think from the cover, I'm trying to cover it with the makeup, but I don't think it's working very, very clearly. But yeah, there's like some burn marks here. The pain fade. So thank God. Not a very huge service area, so I just pray and hope. Anyway, that's my little piece that I will share, that I am literally living all these astrology videos, energies with you all. But yes, on that day, unfortunately, the global sumo flotilla experienced 14 times attack. There was 14, I think 15, I'm not sure if it's 14 or 15 attacks. Thankfully, no one got unalive, but some ships did experience significant damage. But as of now, they regroup, repair, and they continue to sail to Gaza. Like I said previously, the next couple of days, this week is very important, right? They will be very, very close to Gaza in the next couple of days. So if you're watching these, if you believe in any kind of rights, please support them, share the awareness, speak up, let's focus on them, let's pray for them. So yeah, that is our whole my part of summary in recording our eclipse season, which was crazy. A lot happened, but I do see a pattern from what is happening on a collective level. Is the global majority, working class, and the global collective people really fighting back, like enough is enough in their own ways, against the corrupted, collapsing government and system, which is a big major theme for all of us on a collective level. So all I have to say is just, wow, what a time to be alive and keep on keeping on, right? So I do want to talk about the aspect that we have this week. On October 1st, I can't believe it's October already. Okay, October 1st, we have Mercury in Libra square Jupiter in Cancer at 22 degrees. So whenever Mercury and Jupiter have a harder aspect such as square and opposition, it always feels like a more of a information system overload, that kind of day, right? Because Mercury is our thoughts, communication, information, news, social media, squaring Jupiter, magnifying them, bringing them up. It can be an exhausting day, overwhelming, oversharing, over-consuming day with all this mercurial thing. So take care of your energy, right? It can also be a day where you might come across or participate in a very dramatic and conversation because of Jupiter magnifying that, right? And it can be about certain beliefs, injustice in the world, because we're talking about Mercury in Libra, which will really resonate with what is happening around the world. And this can be you having a conversation with your friend, and the square might bring up some conflict or tension because maybe you both don't see eye to eye about certain thing or belief. It can also be a day where you can use it to empower yourself and others by sharing and educating as well. So square can actually create movement, right? It requires us to move the energy. So this is maybe by you sharing or other people sharing, standing up, speaking up about what you believe in, your values, that it can on one hand pull on some heartstrings and drive more people to pay attention and be compassionate with what is happening and join you. And of course, on the other hand, it can also be like people feeling like triggered and trying to disagree with you, right? It can go both way energies. And then on October the 3rd, oh my god, I keep saying September, is already October. Okay, October the 3rd, we have Mercury in Libra again, and this time it's going to oppose Chiron retrograde in Aries at 25 degrees. Okay, so this is a day that can feel a bit ouch, right? It can be a day where it can bring up past trauma, pain, experience that you thought you healed. Maybe it requires a deeper layer of healing, understanding, or maybe this is you talking about it, you know, reflecting on it, Mercury, right? Sharing it with others to allow others to do the same thing. And this actually brings us back to mid-September when we have that Mars in Libra oppose Chiron retrograde, which I mentioned a couple weeks ago. That might be a day where something happened that really triggered you, and this can be the day where you are talking about it with the person that hurt you, or talking it through with someone you trust, or your healer, your psychologist, or your therapist, right? This can also be a day where some of us just simply is having a day where we need to have some kind of tough or tense conversation with someone as well, with the opposition. And lastly, one more aspect I want to talk about is on the next day, October the 4th, we have Venus conjuncting South Node in Virgo at 18 degrees. Okay, so this week, the aspect we have not a lot, but all of them a little bit like hard. So Venus talks about a lot of things. One thing that Venus signifies is the feminine, the LGBTQ, the woman, trans, queer community, right? This is a general association. And Venus is falling in the sign of Virgo. And anytime when any planet conjunct or oppose, I would say, or maybe square as well, a South Node. South Node, like I said, is the point of release, letting go, and loss. Having Venus conjuncting South Node, there might be some worrisome news surrounding the community I've just mentioned. Venus also talks about relationship, right? Someone might break up today. But maybe it is for the better, right? But yeah, some of us might experience some conflict or tension surrounding relationship, not just limited to romantic. Remember, Venus also talks about all our close one-on-one relationships. Venus talks about money, our values, right? Beauty. It talks about indulgence, right? Because Venus also rules Taurus, so it talks about our indulgence, food, our luxuries, right? The pleasure and everything. And coming up with South Node, there can be, I don't know, on the collective level, there might be some food system, agriculture related news that can be devastating. Climate. I can talk about our world market and economy. That's what Venus is about as well, right? So we might just need to pay attention to the news that might come up. But on your personal level, it might be, you know, your values, your money matters might experience some might need you to make some kind of maybe tough decision today, or you might experience a little bit of a loss or change today as well. So that is what what's happening this week. Thank you for being here. And if you're interested, I do offer all kinds of astrology consultation, tarot and akashic records reading. I also do distant Reiki energy healing sessions. So if you're interested to work with me, feel free to email me in the description box. My email is there, or you can also contact me via Instagram. You can follow me. My handle is also in the description box. So please take care of yourself and others around you, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.